Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are focusing our attention, and I mean really focusing, on one of the most critical updates in the EV world recently, the 2024 Tesla Model 3 Highland.
Yeah, and this is a necessary deep dive because the Model 3, it's not just a car. For years, it has been the benchmark EV saloon across the globe.
Absolutely, it's a massive bestseller. I mean, the sources we reviewed point to something like 67,000 units a month in 2025.
Mm.
Just astonishing numbers.
But that success has always had this little shadow, you know, critiques about build quality, about road noise, things like that.
And that sets up our mission perfectly for today. Does this Highland refresh finally solve those historical flaws? Does it push the car from just being this commercial juggernaut to, well, an undeniable standard for quality?
That's the question. We've pulled together a whole stack of sources for you, looking at everything from the exterior redesign, the complete tech overhaul inside, the new performance specs, and some really aggressive pricing we're seeing in Europe and the UK.
And the big theme seems to be efficiency, right?
100%. The Highland is all about redefining the standard by balancing luxury, comfort, and performance, but all of it is built on a foundation of just relentless efficiency.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting with the physical changes. Tesla doesn't just do facelifts, they redesign for a reason.
Okay.
So what happened to the sheet metal?
They really went after what you might call aerodynamic perfection. Visually, the car is lower, it's sleeker, definitely more aggressive, especially at the front.
The headlights are thinner.
Right. Much thinner, and the bumper is way smoother. You can just see that every single line was redrawn with one thing in mind: cheating the wind.
And that paid off in the numbers. Let's get to the key metric here, the drag coefficient. What did they get it down to?
This is the astounding part. The seed, the drag coefficient, it dropped from an already great 0.225 all the way down to 0.219.
Wow.
And to give you some context, that 0.219 is now the lowest drag coefficient in Tesla's entire lineup. It's even more slippery than a Model S.
It's just wild how much work goes into shaving off, what, 6,000ths of a point?
Yeah.
But for the average driver, what does that actually mean?
It means range. It's basically free range. Our source analysis estimates that just this aerodynamic improvement alone gives you about a 5 to 8% increase in how far you can drive.
So you're getting more distance without even touching the battery.
Exactly. Purely through advanced shaping. A huge engineering win.
This is where the sources brought up something fascinating. A contradiction almost.
Yeah.
The car got more aerodynamic, but it also got bigger and heavier.
A crucial point. It's an engineering trade-off. The new model is about an inch longer, a tiny bit shorter in height, but the weight, that's the big story.
How much heavier are we talking?
The rear-wheel drive version is 155 kilograms heavier. The long range is up by 98 kilos.
So you've got this sleeker shape fighting against, 155 kilos of extra mass. Doesn't that sort of cancel out the benefit?
It definitely makes the efficiency gains work harder. The sources suggest two things are happening. First, that extra weight is for safety new body reinforcements for side impact protection, which is non-negotiable.
Okay, that makes sense.
And second, especially for the RWD model, that extra weight strongly suggests a switch to a new, maybe denser or slightly larger battery pack to hit those big headline range numbers. So it's aero plus battery improvements.
Got it. Now, before we go inside, there's some new tech on the outside, specifically for Europe, the headlights.
Yes, the adaptive headlights. German documents confirmed the Highland is approved for adaptive functionality there. The cars have had the hardware, the matrix LEDs for a while.
But the software wasn't turned on.
Exactly. So an over-the-air update, an OTA, will push out the software that lets the car intelligently shape the light beam around other traffic. It's a perfect example of the car's value actually going up after you've bought it.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for anyone thinking of buying one. Let's talk range figures. This was a big promise of the Highland refresh.
A huge promise, and they delivered. We're looking at an 11 to 12% improvement across the board. The standard range rear-wheel drive now has a WLTP figure of 344 miles, or 513 kilometers.
And I want to pause on that. WLTP, that's the European testing cycle, right?
It is, yeah.
Right.
Worldwide Harmonized Light Vehicle Test Procedure. It's important to remember that.
Because the number that really turns heads is the long-range all-wheel drive. An official WLTP of 421 miles, or 629 kilometers. That's a massive number.
It's a huge psychological barrier breaker for range anxiety. But, and this is a critical, but from the sources, WLTP numbers are almost always higher than the US EPA standard.
Which is usually seen as a bit more realistic.
A bit more, yeah. So if you extrapolate, you're probably looking at an EPA range around 370 miles for that long-range model. Still fantastic, but not 421.
It's a necessary dose of realism. We saw one source that did a long-term highway test and found their long-range model got about 550 kilometers in the real world. Still exceptional, but not the 700 plus on the box.
Exactly. Temperature, speed, it all matters. Now, moving to performance, they've really created three distinct tiers.
Let's start with the base model, the RWD.
So the entry-level rear-wheel drive does 0-100 kilometers an hour in about 6.1 seconds. And the starting price is really attractive, around 39,990 pounds in the UK.
And the sources pointed out a deliberate change in how this one feels to drive.
Oh, yeah, they've tuned the power delivery. It's less of that instantaneous neck-snapping jolt. It's more docile, smoother. They're clearly positioning it as more of a comfortable touring saloon for the mainstream buyer.
Right, and then you step up to the long-range all-wheel drive.
And that's 4.4 seconds to 100 kilometers per hour. Power jumps to nearly 500 metric horsepower. A big step up.
And then there's the top dog, the performance model, which some were calling ludicrous.
Officially unveiled in April 2024, and this thing is just a statement. The specs are brutal. 0-60 miles per hour in 2.9 seconds.
Wow.
Over 500 horsepower, 163 mile per hour top speed. It has its own design, track mode V3, forged 20-inch wheels. The works.
But the real game changer on the performance model, according to the sources, is the suspension.
Yes, the adaptive damping. And what's key here is that it's controlled by Tesla's own in-house software. It's not an off-the-shelf system from a third party.
Which means they can just keep improving it.
Exactly. They can fine-tune it with future OTA updates, optimizing it for the highway one day and a track session the next. That kind of future-proofing is a massive advantage.
And regardless of which one you pick, the charging is still best in class, right?
Oh, yeah. Max power input is still up to 250 kilowatts on a supercharger. That lets you add about 175 miles of range in just 15 minutes. That speed, plus the reliability of the supercharger network, that's still probably their single biggest advantage.
Okay, let's move inside. Because if the outside was all about aerodynamics, the inside seems to be about a controversial push for even more minimalism.
It really is. The cockpit went from minimal to, well, even more minimal. And this is the change that almost every source says takes real getting used to.
They took away the stalks on the steering column.
Gone. Borrowed from the Model S and X Plaid. So your gear selector is now a slider on the 15.4-inch touchscreen.
And the turn signals.
They're buttons, force-sensitive buttons right there on the steering wheel.
That just sounds distracting, doesn't it? If you're in a roundabout or making a quick turn, you have to look down.
It's the ultimate polarizing design choice. The argument is that it cleans things up, simplifies the interface, but the ergonomic analyses we read all point to a steep learning curve. It's a choice that prioritizes aesthetics over, decades of driver muscle memory.
A very Tesla move. But while they took things away up front, they added something big in the back.
The new 8-inch rear touchscreen. And this is a really significant upgrade for anyone who ever has to sit in the back.
It's not just for the climate control, is it?
No, not at all. You can control the climate, sure, but you can also adjust the rear speaker volume separately. And this is the clever part. You can actually move the front passenger seat forward from the back screen.
To give yourself more legroom.
Exactly. It's a huge win for taller passengers.
But the killer feature, especially if you have kids, has to be the entertainment.
Oh, that's the game changer. The sources confirm the rear screen can stream Netflix, YouTube, Hulu, all while the car is moving.
Unlike the front screen, which is locked out.
Right. So for long journeys, this is just an essential feature now. It vastly improves the passenger experience.
And they also worked on those older critiques, making the cabin quieter.
A lot quieter. First, the better aero helps muffless wind noise. But they also added double-layer acoustic glass on the windows. Combine that with an upgraded sound system, now up to 17 speakers, and it's a much more serene place to be.
They added ventilated front seats, too.
Yes, and you can turn them on from the app before you even get in the car.
And there's some new customizable ambient lighting, which apparently ties into the driver assistance systems.
It does, yeah. It can provide visual alerts. And just to confirm, practicality is still great. The rear trunk is huge, up to 594 liters, and you still get that 88-liter frunk.
So if we connect all this to the bigger picture, why is this refresh making the Model 3 so competitive right now, globally?
It really comes down to the price. The market value is just incredibly aggressive, especially outside the
You're
US.
talking about that starting price under 41,000 euro in some European markets?
Exactly. At that price, it's not just competing with other EVs, it's competing with, standard gasoline cars from a smaller segment.
And we saw some wild price differences globally.
Dramatic differences. China and Norway back in 2023 had the lowest entry prices we could find, around 35,500 US dollars for the base model. That's all down to local incentives and Giga Shanghai's efficiency.
But for our listeners in the UK, the financial case is maybe the strongest of all because of the tax structure.
Absolutely. The salary sacrifice scheme, the savings are immense.
Break down the numbers for us. They were pretty striking.
Okay, so if you leased the base RWD model on your own, it might cost you, say, $636 a month. But through a company salary sacrifice scheme, that can drop to as low as £413.
That's a huge
Yeah.
saving.
It's a 30 to 60% saving, depending on your tax bracket. And for the high-end performance model, you're easily saving over £500 a month. It basically weaponizes the EV tax rules to make it an irresistible company car.
Let's quickly touch on the safety and driver assistance. Beside the new body structure, they added a blind spot warning indicator.
They did. The ADAS system is still tiered. You get basic autopilot as standard, then advanced autopilot is an add-on, and full self-driving is, of course, the most expensive option. One source quoted it at an extra 7,500 PAL.
But the real value in the Tesla ecosystem is still that constant software update cycle.
Yeah.
You can't overstate that.
No, it's what sets them apart. The car you buy today is functionally better 6 months from now, often for free. The classic example everyone cites is that 2021 update that added the blind spot camera view when you signal.
Right, it just appeared one day.
A huge safety feature delivered over Wi-Fi while the car was parked. Traditional automakers are still struggling to catch up to that model.
So, to synthesize this whole deep dive, the Highland is a really comprehensive package. It's sleeker, it's way quieter thanks to that glass and aero work. It's packed with comfort tech like the rear screen and ventilated seats. And the range numbers are impressive, even with a dose of realism.
Yeah, the main takeaway is that Tesla didn't just tweak it, they listened. They addressed the quality and comfort complaints head-on while just doubling down on what they do best: efficiency and tech. When you combine that with the pricing and the Supercharger network, it really does cement the 2024 Model 3 as the definitive benchmark.
And that blend of relentless efficiency on the outside and that extreme digital minimalism on the inside, it leads us to our final provocative thought for you to think about. The integration of almost everything gears, turn signals, everything into that 15.4-inch screen is really the core of this car's philosophy. So is the future of driving truly one where a sleek, buttonless screen is considered superior to the physical, tactile controls that drivers have relied on for decades? What level of digital integration are you actually comfortable with when your hands are on the wheel?
That's a fascinating question, and one I think every driver is going to have to answer for themselves, as the whole industry seems to be moving down this path.
Thank you so much for tuning into this deep dive. We really appreciate you trusting us to break down all this material. If you found this useful, please make sure you follow the channel. That way you'll never miss an important breakdown of the latest information. We'll catch you on the next one.